link for the agenda as well. And let's start. Okay, my name is Carlos. I'm going to be the host for today for this meeting. This is let me try. This meeting is under the CNCF Code of Conduct, and just be nice for everyone else here. And this is like a meeting for the Kubernetes 6 under the cluster lifecycle. And this is more specific for the cluster API provider agent. Okay, welcome you all. Let's move to the agenda topics. I don't know if we have any new members or new attendees in the meeting. If you are new, please say some brief introductions. I don't think so. Maybe David is the new guy. Okay. If you have any topics to discuss, please add in the open discussions in the agenda. And I don't know, Cecile, if you want to go straight to the open discussions or let's update. There's no task grid anymore.
Yeah, I removed that. Sorry for the last minute, but we never really do it in here, so let's just keep it for the end.
Yeah, okay. Let's, David, you have some topic here for the multi-tenant control proposal. You want to start talking, David?
Sure. All right, tell me when to stop. Can everybody hear me all right? Awesome. Okay, so Kappa recently had put out a multi-tenancy proposal where they are having each cluster have the ability to have a principal that reconciles that cluster, and that the controller can assume the role of that principal in AWS and then reconcile that cluster. So this is the idea that you may have multiple tenants using the same controller, whereas now we've always expected that we will have different controller instances running for a single tenant. So each one of the controller instances would be for a specific tenant. So the environment that we load up when the controller starts with the credentials that that environment has is what the controller will be using to access Azure and to create infrastructure on behalf of that individual identity. With this proposal, it opens it up to each cluster having its own identity to reconcile infrastructure. The linked proposal is there. I'm looking for feedback. Whether or not we actually want to go down this path, I think we do, but I'd love to hear from other folks and just raise concerns and suggestions within the proposal. Any questions?
Do you have a timeline in mind of when you'd like this to go in, or like a lazy consensus type of timeline?
I have not. I'm open to suggestions. Do we think a week? How long should we keep it open for?
If nobody is asking for changes, probably a week is usually fine.
Yeah.
Do we have consensus?
Yeah.
Awesome. All right, cool. Yes.
David, are we confident that this proposal is on the way towards being approved?
I think so.
Nader's like, yes.
I haven't heard any major obstacles to it. If there are objections, please bring them up as early as possible.
I'm confident because it already went through the Kappa review process, and this one is pretty similar. We're just adding some Azure specific things to it. And so it's already gone pretty, like a lot of scrutiny, and we've already done a round of review on this one, and no one has brought up any like groundbreaking objections. So I think we're pretty confident so far.
Cool. So that sounds like an FYI that lazy consensus is happening. So if you care about this and if you don't say anything, then that means that you approve of what's happening, because it's going to happen.
Yep. Okay, now if there's no more questions about this, let's move to the next one, which is how to generate Azure.json. I don't know who
Yeah.
brings this up.
I added that. I think Ace isn't here today, but I just wanted to call this out in his name. There's a PR open from Ace to auto-generate the Azure JSON, which normally you'd have to input as part of your template as a kubeconfig or kubeidium config file, which isn't great UX because it's tied to the Azure cluster spec. So you have to like make sure that those are always synchronized, and like really this could be auto-generated. So it's a pretty big PR, but it's a really great improvement. So if you're interested and you have time to review, please take a look. I'm hoping this will merge soon.
Any questions, Joseph?
Yeah, I have a quick question. I know CAPZ said they're like found some bugs and going to do like a 0.3.8 release. Would that mean that we would want to do a release? And the reason I'm asking is that it would be really cool if we have that in a release, if we're going to do a release.
Yeah, that's a
I
great
don't know
point.
if we should or not. I'm not sure.
Well, they're not tied to each other, so I wouldn't say it's a strict requirement, especially if the release is fixing a bug, like a critical bug. We don't want to block it on like an improvement. But the way that this is going, I think it's close to being ready, and I agree with you. It'd be really cool if we could have that out there. So I'm not opposed to it if it can happen. Does that sound good?
You are thinking that we would need a release after 0.3.8 comes in?
Yeah, I think so.
Feels like it. Yeah. Okay.
It seems like there might be some documentation updates to be done in the CAPZ book as well. Are we tracking those?
That's true. We're not at the moment. That's a good point. The CAPZ book is tied to the main branch of CAPZ though, so it's not. We can do that after their release, which is good. But the other thing is that this is a pretty big change and it's very user impacting. Yeah. Normally it's backwards compatible, so if you're still using the old way, it should still work. But I don't know if we want to patch that as a patch release that includes a bug so fast. That's maybe we should take a second and think about it. But
yeah, we should probably use this for a while before we release it.
Yeah, at least in the tests.
Yeah.
But we can think about it. That's a good point. Yeah.
Any other questions? I'll take as a go. And the next topic is these meeting types this year?
Yeah, this one is more logistics and boring. So if anyone else has any interesting topics about CAPZ that they want to talk about first, I'm happy to wait this one till the end.
Oh, sorry, I have something that I forgot to add. I'll add it as we're talking. So I made a PR about the cluster name validation based on this resources not following standard names. My conclusion out of it was that like we just need to add some more validations on the cluster name, but there are recommended naming of things that I put a lot of details in the issue that I put a link for now. There's like recommended namings that we don't follow, like example RG dash whatever for the resource group or VNet dash something and the subnet and all that, and we don't use that, so I'm not sure if we care, but it's just a question.
David, you had originally brought this up. What are your thoughts on this?
So I did comment slightly, just a small little tinge of a comment from sourced from the Slack conversation we had with a user a while back. I think the sooner that we can get this in, the better it is for consumers of CAPZ, for users of CAPZ, because they're just not going to shoot themselves in the foot. And until we really have like machine health and you know, a reliable, hey, cluster came up or cluster didn't because of this reason, I think this is pretty important. What are your thoughts?
I agree. I think the conventions for like naming the things like subnet, application name, blah, 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 or like RG doesn't really apply to us here because we're not really, you know, it's cluster infrastructure, it's not application infrastructure. So, and I think it's not like, it's not going to change any user facing things, but what is going to impact users is having validation that doesn't work by default and having users be able to use a cluster name that then results in a failed subnet. We don't want that.
So that's what I've done so far. Try to kind of get like the minimal version of a cluster name that wouldn't break anything, which is like very limited, but anyway, that's the only change I've done so far. So if you can just like take a look at some point.
Are the new validations strictly compatible with pre-existing clusters? So is it going to break an existing cluster because all of a sudden they're no longer allowed to do something they were prior allowed to do?
Well, the cluster name is on the cluster name. I guess if it's an existing cluster, I won't touch it because it's validating on the cluster when you're like trying to create a cluster.
Got
it. And those existing clusters probably don't work.
Yeah,
because
well, that was the other point. If the validation coheres exactly with what the backend is going to reject anyway, then we're good.
Well, there is a case where you could have had a custom, like a cluster name that was longer than 44 characters or whatever the number of new characters is, and then have like a custom name for everything else so that it works. That specific case, but I don't think validating create will break that case, right? Because then it's only new cluster creates that will, yeah. So it should be okay in terms of conversions.
I think there's one kind of related issue that this brings up, and I think I brought it up in the issue as well, that we might want to think about having a override for the cluster name, so that we're basing it off of an overridden value instead of the metadata.name, to allow people to name things however they want that fit Kubernetes constructs, but you know, then have an override for here's your Azure stuff.
I think if someone comes, if a user comes to us and says, listen, this is not going to work for me, I need this name, then we can have that in our back pocket. But for now, if no one's asking for it.
You read my comment, didn't you?
Yeah, I did.
Okay, any other questions? Does anyone have any other topic to discuss? Okay,
I can talk about the meeting time. Okay, so I just wanted to bring up that, so I know we just had a like survey to choose this time like a couple months ago in March, I think. But I just wanted to put it out there that obviously a lot of things have changed since then. A lot of people are working from home. Some people have changed time zones even. And the people like who are involved in this project have also changed a lot. There are a lot of new faces. And so like the things are a bit different. And also this meeting is kind of like in the start of a lot of people's weekends, which I've never really liked. So I was wondering if you all would be open to maybe us just reevaluating if this is the best time by doing a new survey and putting this time as one of the options. And if it still comes out as the winner, then we just keep it. But if we have a clear winner and everyone in this meeting can still attend the new time at another time that maybe isn't Friday night for some people, then maybe we try to change it. What are your all thoughts?
Personally, for me, this is the best time, but it's just be depends. Like for me, can be in other days as well, but around this time as well, or can be a little bit later as well.
Okay. I
Because
think
for
no
you,
matter
always it's like early in the morning, right?
no matter
Yeah.
what we do, I think we have to aim for like early morning PST or PT so it can work for different time zones.
Yeah.
But maybe just not Friday.
Monday.
Does that sound okay?
Yeah.
Any objections?
Yeah.
Okay, so I'll start a poll. I'll start a poll and I'll post on Slack so like people who weren't in this meeting also know about it, and we can just take it from there and maybe discuss it next time and see if we want to take action.
Sounds good. Okay, are we doing the project board?
Yeah, let's look at project board and milestone, see where we're at. We're supposed to be halfway through the milestone, so this is going to be interesting.
Okay. Okay, we go via the review in progress, or
Sorry?
do we filter this, or how we should?
Yeah, so it's automatically filtered.
Yeah.
And I actually added everything to the project yesterday, so everything should be in here. But if you click on add cards top right, you should see if anything's missing. Oh, so there are some stuff that got added since yesterday. So usually what we do is we just add the new ones. So this is a PR, so it's in progress. And the ones that are issues, just add them to the backlog. Just drag them in there, and then yeah. And then we just go through in progress and see if, you know, everything is actually in progress.
Okay, the issues we move to backlog, right?
Yeah. You have to drag all the way to the left.
Okay. And this is it. Good. Okay, we're going. The first one in progress is, let's go by that. Okay, this is the ad coverage as part of PR status. This is, I did this PR, but we are waiting for the cluster API, the upstream, to merge the API first. And then this is the first step. We have the coverage. As soon as we merge this, I can create in the test infra a new prow config to create a new job that gonna trigger this. I was thinking in the beginning just not put to run every PR, but then we manually trigger this job and see. And if it's working and that's fine, then we can maybe put to trigger automatically in the PRs. Also, we can add not only for the PR, but for the master as well. Then we can have like a continuous information about during the time frame for the life for the master stuff as well, if it's increasing or decreasing. Okay, next one, it's enable IPv6.
Yeah, this one's still in progress. I helped James rebase it on top of some of the recent refactors, and I think he still has a few to-dos in there. Yeah.
Yeah, still in draft, yeah. Okay, next one, it's support failure domains for Azure machine tools.
So I think this one is stale.
Yeah,
there's a PR open, hasn't moved in a while.
Yeah, there's a PR here. Okay. This is an issue for the Bastion host. The first part, the PR I did, I already refactored to use the new service we did. And I just need you guys to take a look again and see if need to change. But this is the first part. The second part is implementing in the reconciler as well. Or if we don't want this anymore, we can just close the PR as well. Okay, the next is add support to failure. Okay, this is from the issue below. Yeah, this is the PR for the Bastion host. There is one PR in progress here. Fix Azure manage cluster deployments where the resource group does not exist.
David, you're still working on that?
Yes, David.
Yes, I am, unfortunately. I will get that in today.
Okay. Next one is like still in progress. Document how we use custom images.
Yeah, it's in progress. Matt was out this week, so I think he'll get back to it next week.
Next is install CNI using cluster resource set for end-to-end testing.
I think we're waiting for CAPZ PR to merge for this one. It's blocked.
Yeah. Okay. Test validate accelerate network for VMs. I don't know if this is in progress or
Yeah,
just
We're waiting
pending
on that to get
review.
back. We're waiting on
Sorry?
that to get back, correct?
Who?
Matt is on vacation this week. I believe we are waiting for him to get back.
Okay.
And
Yeah, for the
then-
feedback, right? Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, next, add validation cluster name. Looks like now it's we need to review. And refactor VM services spec.
Yeah, I just opened that. It's definitely in progress. It's very in progress. Should I said VWIP?
And the last one is normalized version in manage control plane. There is any one of these PRs we should put in the 047 milestone, or this we do later?
So when they merge, everything that merges gets automatically applied to the milestone. We have a
Okay.
milestone applier plugin enabled. But
Okay.
let's take a look at the milestone quickly and make sure the things are open in the milestone unassigned, that we know about them. Yeah, so everything in, oh great, everything in to do is what we we said we would commit to for 2 weeks from now.
Okay. That's, okay, this is not assigned to anyone. And
Yeah, I think the 2 big ones that are 3 big ones that are left are Azure CNI, which I don't know if we're going to get to, honestly. The Bootstrap failure detection, that's probably not going to be this milestone. And then dedicated host, I think Ace was looking at that and I was also looking at it. So I think one of us is going to take it, whoever gets to it first. And then I guess the proposal for the cloud resource reconciliation breakout, I don't know if David's going to have time to get to that this milestone or not, but if not, we'll just port it over to the next one.
I talked to the Kappa people about the failure detection thing, and they're still kind of not sure how to proceed about that. So that's why I didn't like do too much about it. They still need to figure out what their plan is, and so I think we'll probably just to have like a consistent, some kind of consistency between the different providers, even if it requires cluster API itself something, then probably better to wait a little bit, unless you all think it's urgent and we should start working on it.
Yeah, I think when we talked about it in the original design, we concluded that we weren't going to be able to be consistent across infrastructures, and this was going to have to be infrastructure specific.
But even the approach, they
now,
don't know what approach to take.
But yeah,
They haven't
maybe we
decided
should
anything.
follow a similar approach. But I think we should start with a design, like Azure specific design proposal. And we had different alternatives in the original doc, so we could just start from there and expand a bit and then choose which alternative we want to go for.
Okay.
But yeah, I think no urgency in the next week or so. Okay. Is there anything not in this board that anyone's working on that should be in this board, or anything that is in the milestone that we should take out? Oh, I just realized I was muted. I was just saying, is there anything anyone's working on that's not in the board?
No, we got
I think
it.
we heard
yeah.
you.
Yeah.
We heard you.
Oh, okay. Okay.
I think no one's have anything to take out.
Okay.
We shouldn't have told you though. We should have just let you go through with the repeating because we're being recorded. So
Okay. Do you have anything next to the next, or we can end the meeting?
No, I think we're good. Thanks,
Okay.
Carlos. Thanks, Jack,
Okay.
for taking the notes.
Thank you, everybody. We close the meeting today, and have a nice weekend.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
bye, folks.
Thank you. Bye.